Coming up on Ottawa this week, the city is cleaning up after a microburst ripped through the capital late last week. Britannia Beach was hit the hardest. Trees were ripped in two, roofs blown off of buildings, and thousands were left without power. We are on location with the latest. Over a month of having an illegal safe injection site in the market, one resident who wasn't happy about it spread manure across the park. One local resident and activist who wasn't too pleased with the idea showed his concern by spreading manure around the park. Needless to say, his plan did not work. Hello, I'm Charlie Cenac and welcome to Ottawa This Week. Well, it's so great to be back in an actual news set again. And not everything is worked out yet, but everything will be by the next newscast. Things are starting to roll along and that's great. But wow, what a week it's been in Ottawa, especially with the weather. Trees were knocked down and over 7,000 people were left without power for days, including the mayor. 4 schools were closed on Thursday, and now the cleanup efforts are going on. Now we have full in-depth coverage on the microburst that did hit Ottawa and how it affected the residents. This was a scene at Algonquin College Wednesday afternoon. As you can see, the clouds are rolling in, and just moments later the storm hit. Here is a video of what the storm looked like as it was ending. Just moments before this was taken, leaves were blowing everywhere, and hail was reported in some areas. And now we start our coverage at Britannia Beach, one of the worst and hardest hit areas the microburst touched, where dozens of trees are down. Cleanup has started after a microburst hit the capital on Wednesday, leaving over 7,000 people without power, knocking down trees and tearing roofs off of buildings. A microburst can bring high winds and create damage equivalent to an F1 tornado. It left a 37-year-old woman in critical condition after she was struck by a tree at the general campus of the Ottawa Hospital on Smythe Road. Staff from the hospital helped to remove the tree off of the woman and began performing CPR before she was taken to the Civic Hospital with a police escort. A day later, hydro is still being restored to multiple homes in the area, and the cleanup has begun. Britannia Beach was one of the worst hit areas. Trees fell on bike paths, almost making it impossible to get by, and some trees were completely derooted right from the ground. The storm did quite a bit of damage here at Britannia Beach. Over here, there was a tree that was totally derooted. Over here, they are currently working on getting some of the fallen branches taken off of the sidewalk. Over on the other side of the beach, cleanup was also beginning. By Thursday afternoon, many of the trees were already cut up and were awaiting removal. Crews have been working around the clock here at Britannia Beach, getting rid of these trees that fell down on the bike paths so pedestrians can get by. The storm caused 4 schools in Ottawa to be closed on Thursday, and other parts of the city were also hit hard, especially in the Alta Vista area, where a tree totally destroyed 2 cars. On Friday evening, hydro crews were still working throughout the night to restore power. Mayor Jim Watson tweeted out that he didn't get his power back on until the early morning hours and credited Hydro Ottawa for their work. Multiple poles had to be replaced during the storm, yet they don't have any final estimates on how many will have to have been replaced until all cleanup efforts are finished. Now, the Britannia Beach area was not the only area in the city to be hit hard by this storm. On Carling near Maitland, the roof of a building was blown off, and those who live inside say it was like being inside of a funnel cloud. A small building complex on Carling will have to get a new roof after it blew off during the major microburst storm Ottawa received on Wednesday. The complex near Carling and Maitland had its roof blown off onto the ground, leaving all of the residents inside the building in shock. The residents in the building were forced to evacuate, and needless to say, they won't be going back anytime soon. Although a downburst did go through this area, and it of course contributed to the roof being ripped off of this building, questions are still being raised on why that happened, especially when other buildings, the exact same, have little or no damage. Questions are now being raised on what caused the roof to blow off of the building in the first place. Identical buildings sit nearby, and all of them were left untouched. One of the residents of the building, who wouldn't appear on camera, said hydro workers and construction crews were doing a good job cleaning up what was left after the storm. Another resident in the building said it was like being inside of a funnel cloud when the storm hit. When the roof was ripped off, what looked to be a funnel cloud appeared in the sky. No funnel clouds were reported to have touched down during the storm, yet there were multiple reports of them being seen in the skies. On Thursday, workers were seen around the building complex stacking the pieces of the roof into a truck. Now Hydro Ottawa as well as roofers are currently on scene cleaning up the damage from yesterday's storm. One question is still around, asking why this building had its roof blown off when other buildings in the area didn't. Now we still don't know how many hydro poles did have to be replaced following this microburst, yet we do know that still multiple residents were left without power onto the weekend. Hydro crews say that was because they were battling many issues, including hydro poles catching on fire. The microburst situation that we did see was the same type of situation that we saw in 2011 that took down the Blues Fest stage. And in other news, the community is coming together after a devastating fire broke out on the Reuter family farm on September 8th, devastating the family. Here's a little bit of a recap of what happened. About 80 cattle are dead after a fire broke out on the Black Rapids farm on Prince of Wales Drive around 1 p.m. on Friday. The fire destroyed 3 barns, including a 125-year-old barn that was on NCC property. Another one of the barns held all of the farming equipment. The farm is owned by the Reuter family, a well-known farming family here in Ottawa. Ottawa Fire is crediting the family for getting out of the home and not returning to try and save some of the cattle. They were able to retrieve the family vehicle as well as a tractor. Around 12 cows did survive the fire. That's because they were out in the field. It was a tough fire and took Ottawa firefighters hours to put out the raging blaze, and even into the evening they were putting out hot spots that kept popping up. This closed down a portion of Prince of Wales Drive and caused some traffic delays. Well, it's been a few hours since this fire did break out, and the smell of smoke is still extremely thick in the air, and also whiffs of it from the building are coming over past Prince of Wales Drive onto the other side. It was a hard fire to put out. That's basically because there are no fire hydrants in the area, and all water had to come by truck. The fire has left at least $1 million in damages, and the fire marshal has been called in for an investigation. There is still no word on what caused the blaze to break out, and it is still unknown if the Reuter family planned to rebuild or not. The family home did survive, and the family dog is safe as well. And a fundraiser will be held for the Reuter family at the North Gore Community Center on October 14th with an auction and reception starting at 6 p.m. While the group We the Parents will also be hosting a community information session at the Canada Recreation Centre on October 12th. The Canada Drug Advocacy Group We the Parents will be hosting an opioid crisis forum to have an open discussion on saving children from the dangers of drugs. For more information, you can visit wetheparents.ca. Well, we are currently standing here on the corner of Meadowlands and Merivale. It is currently about 1:30 in the afternoon, and a car accident just occurred here. Now, we don't know too many details at this time, yet this is the second car accident to happen on Meadowlands today. Earlier this afternoon, around supper time, a car accident took place on Meadowlands near Grant Carman at the corner. We don't know too many details on that. We do know that it involved 2 cars. One woman was transported to hospital. We don't have any details on her injuries. Now, a few hours later, another car accident occurred here just behind me on the corner of Meadowlands and Merivale. Now, we don't know too many details at this time in relation to this car accident. As I'm sure you could tell from here behind me, this has just happened. It is currently developing First responders are on scene, police are on scene. So currently, right now, part of Meadowlands Drive is closed at this time. Now, again, we don't know any details on what caused this yet. It involved two cars over here just behind me. One truck actually looks like it could have potentially been a tow truck for that matter. It's kind of hard to tell at this time. And a vehicle as well. Now, that vehicle is quite badly damaged. The whole entire side of the car is destroyed, and it looks like on the other side, going towards Tim Hortons, it's quite bad as well. We can't really see if the airbags did have to be deployed in this accident or not. We don't know anything on the people who were in the car. Now, we don't see them around, which leaves us to believe that they have most likely been transported to hospital. And as you look at the scene, it's not surprising. Currently, an investigation is underway over there to the left of me. Police are currently working with fire crews going through the rubble from what I believe is a tow truck to see if they could find anything there. Earlier on, there was a group of people, curious onlookers who were over at the nearby Tim Hortons, trying to figure out what was going on over here behind me, and the police were actually yelling at them to leave the scene. Another sign that this could potentially have been fatal, or if it hasn't been yet, could be fatal at some point. Again, so they're working here behind me right now, investigating the scene, trying to figure out what happened. It did look like these two cars hit one another, and they must have been going at quite a quite a fast speed, because they are quite badly damaged here behind me. This is something we will continue to look into, and we will continue to update with more information as it becomes available. You can also follow me on Twitter at Charlie_CNAC for the latest and updates. Well, and now to the growing drug crisis Ottawa has been facing. As we told you a few weeks ago, an illegal safe injection site did open up in the market by Overdose Prevention Ottawa. Now, their goal is to help save lives, and I don't think anyone is disagreeing with that. Yet some people don't like the approach they have been taking, and while one local resident took it in his hands to get them to go away, yet, well, it didn't really work. It has been over a month since the illegal pop-up injection site opened in the Byward Market, and reaction is mixed. Over the past couple of weeks, Overdose Prevention Ottawa, the group that runs the site, say they have been battling with people shining bright lights on the site and neighbors protesting. On Thursday morning, one activist did something no one could have seen coming. He spread manure around the site in hopes it would keep the group away. The man responsible is Guy Annable. He is a well-known community activist who has a unique approach, but even for him, this went a little too far. Did his plan work, might you ask? No, it did not, and that night Overdose Prevention Ottawa was on the scene cleaning up the manure and still operated their tent. Ottawa bylaw confirms an individual was fined $260 for dumping waste in the park, and this is believed to have been the only person who has been fined in relation to the injection site. About 40 people visit the tent every day, yet that number keeps changing. Multiple people have overdosed at the site since it has opened, yet they were all brought back to life by the life-saving drug naloxone that is on hand. It is unclear how long the tent will stay operational for, especially since organizers don't have a permit. Yet if organizers have it their way, they will be there for good. That's it for this episode of Ottawa This Week. Thank you all so much for joining me, and it's great to be back, as I said earlier. We will be back here again next week, and everyone, please have a very happy Thanksgiving weekend. We'll see you again next week.